NaptownTuner here. I've got a brand new segment for you today. Something I just came up with, and I want a coffee, but I was like, you know what? Instead of going to get a coffee, I have to do this segment first. And then I'll reward myself with a coffee, and then I'll get back to my regular work. Let's get started. Check it out. My 1/4-inch drive ratchet selection. Sitting on my antique creeper. Picked this up from a local auction. Yep. Let's talk about it. First, let's start over here with the big boys. This right here, it's no longer available. You're not gonna be able to find this anywhere. This is a snap-on swivel head speed handle. So you can, break loose some exhaust bolts. That's what this is for. That's what I use it for more than anything else. The long ones, you can get these in, first off, let me just say 1/4 drive can go all the way up to 15 millimeter. So that's gonna handle quite a bit of stuff there. And yeah, snap on. Now this one, what you'll notice with a lot of these different ratchets is some of them have very coarse gears and some of them have very fine gears, like a fine tooth is what they're called. So this is an older one. This is going to have a fine or a coarse gear in it. And a lot of times you can tell by, like, for instance, let me just quickly grab this one when I'm talking about it. It'll say right down here on the handle, TX72. That means that it's got 72 teeth in the gear inside here. Hear how many clicks it goes so that means that when you're tightening something down, the window between your clicks is so tiny compared to something like this that has maybe only 30 teeth, and it feels kind of chunky when you turn it over. So it doesn't matter as much, on some of the ratchets, but it's really helpful on the smaller ones. But let me get more specific here. Let's go down the line. I don't need to say too much about that one, because how much do I use it? Not very much, very little. Same with this one. I don't use it very much, very little. But whenever I do need to use a long breaker bar style ratchet like this, it's very helpful. And you know what? Why would you get a completely straight one without this swivel head when you can just lock it into its position and unlock it? Is the straight one like this all that much better? I mean, you're going to be able to torque on it more from side to side, but these swivel heads are extremely nice. They can wear out here, but it's lifetime warranty. So if this wears out and your head here no longer, holds in its position, just have your tool guy, have them replace it. And sometimes they just give you a whole nother ratchet in some cases. Moving down the line, we have our VIM. You'll hear me talk a lot about VIM tools. This one might be called a Big Red, but both of them make similar things, I believe, if I'm correct off the top of my head. Let me see if I can find something on this one. This one's Easy Red. Okay, I called it the wrong thing. It's Easy Red. All right, and this is it's a affordable tool. It's a this is a must-have in my opinion. Okay, because you got the ratchet on one side and you got the bit driver on the other. I mean, put this one on the top of your list. I do use this one quite a bit. Now these here, you don't need all three of them, but it's nice to have the different sizes. I mean, look, all three of them are different sizes. Let me put the heads up here. See? And we got Snap-on, and MATCO. And remember, like I said, see here, this has 88 teeth. Very fine. And also, what you'll do is you'll compare the thickness of the ratchet. Do you see that it might not make hardly any difference, but in some cases it does. That little tiny millimeter or so. How that snap-on is thicker than this Matco. This is a nice piece right here. I mean, I like my snap-on as well. And then let's see if we can find, this is probably a fine tooth as well. See, that's a 72 tooth. This one here is a 36 tooth. So like I said, this one's gonna be kind of chunky. It's gonna have very few clicks compared to the ratchet head inside of the fine tooth ratchets. Now let me get back to my favorite three. These are my favorite three. Now it's nice to have a handle on your ratchet. It typically, whenever you're out here on your handle, you know it's not gonna get in the way. It's not gonna be bulky. In some cases though, you don't want the bulk. In some cases, you don't want the handle. You can just deal with it. But in most of the cases, a handle is nice. And these are this is a good example of the two main common styles of swivel head. So this style right here, you're gonna have a pull down latch, right? And then you swivel the head and it stays in a spot like that. And then what you'll also notice with this one is it's got a button release for your socket. Man, is that helpful. It really is nice and helpful to have a button release so that whenever you put a socket on there, you can't pull it off. You have to push the button in before you can pull your socket off. And all it takes is a few sockets or an extension or something that falls off a ratchet into an engine bay that you lose. Dude, that ruins my whole day. I mean, I just get so, I can't even think straight. And it might be stupid, but it's like an extension might be worth 15, 20 bucks. A socket on the end of it might be worth, $10 or something. But that $30 I just lost on like a small extension and a ratchet or something, dude, it ruins my whole day. I can't let it go. Dude, I'll waste more than $30 looking for it. That's just how I am. So back to this style. I've already showed you this style. It's just the click over, right? Nothing special about that. And all of these just have the little lever going back and forth, with a small exception like this one right here. I'll get to that in a second. Let's look at the one with no handle. All right, it's the same style where you pull this nub back and then you can lock it into place. I'm a huge fan of the ones the swivel head ratchets. Okay, I use these a ton. I use these the absolute most. And any one of those would be great. Now, I don't use this hardly at all, but I did buy it because I collect all of them. And there is certain cases where this type of swivel versus this type of swivel is going to make all the difference. Like for instance, let's just look at this right here. See how they're both kind of tilted up? But in some cases, the way that you release a fastener is you're going to have a mechanical advantage on not stripping it out if you tilt it with this type of swivel ratchet rather than this type. Because anytime that you have to swivel the head and try to get something loose like this, anytime you try to get something loose like this on a swivel head, you increase your chances of stripping your fastener out many times. You want to always keep it as straight as possible. So this ratchet here absolutely has its place. Now these are my run-of-the-mill ratchets, all right? Here we have just a regular blue point that came in a set. It's a nice throw-around ratchet, something that you don't care about losing. Here we have a bit ratchet. I don't hardly ever use this because I use these more, and I'll get to those. But it's nice, and if you're using bits a lot, it's a nice little feel in your hand. And this is a coarse one as well. Like I said, you always want to pay attention to the teeth. And this one is, can't get it to zoom, don't have time. This one's I know for sure this one's a fine tooth, And this is a very nice piece. I like that it's like a medium compared to some of my small ones, and I'll get to those. I mean, obviously these are the small ones, but Mac, you know, whatever. They're kind of throwaway ones. It's not my favorite. But they work great. I mean, they're coarse and they're older. They work great. They're nice ratchets, you know, I got them. And then another old school Snap-on small. Broken in, for sure. All right, and then we have the breaker bar, all right? Quarter drive breaker bar. Yes, it's nice to have. It's very helpful sometimes. Most of the time you don't need to mess with it though. I mean, unless you're afraid of breaking, I mean, if you don't want to take a chance on breaking, for instance, this one is broken. I mean, it's so long, there's so much leverage on this one. I break this head all the time, and that's probably why this one is no longer sold, because it is my longest. Well, not my longest, this one's my longest. But anyway, nice to have a breaker bar. Let me just throw this one in here real quick. I mean, this is helpful sometimes. It's your little hand palm ratchet. You know, you can make it solid by putting it in the middle, and then it's not a ratchet, and then you got your forward and reverse all the way at the ends. So, you know, it's a little bit gimmicky, but I use it sometimes. Then back to this type of breaker bar. This is a different type of breaker bar. I've already bent it a little bit because I did use it. One specific case that I needed to get, I can't remember what I used it on, but I had to put it in on something that wouldn't fit anything else, and I put an air hammer on the end of it, and it saved my life at that one point. I mean, sometimes if you don't have this is like your trick bag of tools. I mean, sometimes you can, if you don't have the right supply of tools, the moment you start stripping stuff out or doing stuff wrong because you don't have the right tools is when you know that you need to start getting what you need to get, because these things make you more efficient. Having the right stuff makes you all the money. It makes you look like I mean, fake it till you make it kind of thing. I mean, the tools they don't really make the mechanic, but they kind of do. They kind of do. So this is an entry-level small ratchet. It's made by Titan. You know, it's cheap. It's kind of like a Harbor Freight type deal. And, you know, whenever you have something small, real small like this, you're not putting a lot of torque on it, so I've never broke it yet. It's been very reliable. It's a nice little ratchet. Nice little straight ratchet. And then this one is one of my favorite of all. I mean, this is a little Matco ratchet. The funny thing about this is the first time I learned about it, one of the mechanics I work with, funny older guy, he was showing it to me, and he put it up to his mouth and goes, I love this ratchet, and kissed it. It's funny. But yes, that's how much we are attached to our tools. And then we have the bit drivers. And just for reference, I went ahead and I pulled up this bit driver right here because this is made by VIM, and I'm a huge fan of VIM tools. They sell a lot of specialty tools, and these are stubby bits. And of course, I just dropped it. I'll get it. But you see how all of them are real stubby. Like, this is the side that fits in the ratchet, and then that's the stubby side. So the one I use the most is the T30, and I've already got it loaded up in here. So that's the stubby T30 compared to the longer bit T30. So you see the difference there? It comes in handy big time, trust me. You can buy just these bits if you want. Get with your tool guy and be like, I want some short VIM sockets from, you know, this stubby bit kit, and stock up on them. I wish I still had a tool guy. I'd buy more of them. And then, you know, you can also have the bit driver in it. Extremely helpful. So like I said, the bit driver's this side, but the quarter drive that goes in the end of the bit drivers, that makes it into a versatile ratchet. You know, just a little, you pop that out, and then this is the 8mm in the end. So that's a very, very handy tool. And you can also have an 8mm straight ratchet like this. If you don't want that little angle there, that 15-degree angle or whatever it is, then you can take this and put it in your straight 8mm ratchet wrench. And then we have the more legit Blue Point longer one, and it's extremely helpful as well with the ratchet. So if you like this tool segment, and if you want more tool segments, and if you want me to talk more about tools, NaptownTuner, Talkin Tools, then you hit that like button and you share this video and you comment below and you do all the stuff to help me out. Until next time, NaptownTuner.